Welcome to Access Online Week 13. It's crazy that we have made this many videos so far, and we hope to continue to do so at least through the end of the summer. But here is what we have in store for you for this one. We've got another worship song covered by Ben, which gives you the opportunity to worship and sing to the Lord at home. We've also got the second lesson series, or the second lesson in our lesson series on biblical justice. And we've even got another challenge for you to memorize that theme verse of Scripture that goes along with our lesson series theme. But I hope that wherever you are, or however this video finds you, that it will be both encouraging to you and a little bit challenging for you. It might be summer, and our school work might be on a little bit of a pause, but that doesn't mean our walk with the Lord should be on pause. That definitely does not mean that. So let us continue to learn how to love the Lord and to love others in a deeper and in a stronger way this week, right now. And without further ado, let's get this week's Access Online started.
I need you to soften my heart and break me apart. I need you to open my eyes and see that you're shaping my life. All I am, I surrender. Give me faith to trust what you say, that you're good and your love is great. I'm broken inside, I give you my life. I need you to soften my heart and break me apart. I need you to pierce through the dark and cleanse every part of me. All I am, I surrender. Give me faith to trust what you say, that you're good and your love is great. I'm broken inside, I give you my life. I may be weak, your spirit's strong in me. My flesh may fail, my God, you never will. I may be weak, your spirit's strong in me. My flesh may fail, my God, you never will. Give me faith to trust what you say, that you're good and your love is great. I'm broken inside, I give you my life. I may be weak, but your spirit's strong in me. My flesh may fail, but my God, you never will. I may be weak, strong in me. My flesh may fail, my God, you never will.
Back when Instagram was a new thing, I had a friend make an account simply to troll another kid at his school. And admittedly, that kid was a bully. He was mean. He was very disrespectful, and he often had good success in belittling others or getting under their skin. So in response, my friend, he made this fake account, and he would secretly take pictures of this bully in school, and he would manipulate these pictures in funny or humiliating ways. He made this bully into a meme as a way of retaliation. And of course, it wasn't very long that most of his friend group started following this Instagram account. And not long after that, a good chunk of the entire school started following the account too. But it wasn't always the case that people followed this account to get back at this bully. Sometimes they just followed it just to see what was going on, or just to fit in with everybody else, to stay in the know. But they, and especially my friend, would agree that this was fitting justice. This is what that kid deserved. Because he tormented them, they would torment him. This was justice. And by today's standards, or at least by this world's standards, that's kind of true, right? Justice, in its simplest definition, is just making wrong things right. But many only view this definition through the lens of punishment or through the lens of severe retaliation. And that what was happening there for sure. However, is that what biblical justice is? Can our desire to punish someone, even a class bully, can that go too far? Is there another way? And how do we hold somebody accountable for their actions in a Christ-like manner? Today is our second lesson in our More Than a Hashtag series. And just to remind you, our goal with this lesson series is to explore what justice really is. It's a subject that's on the forefront of a lot of people's minds right now, but it was also a subject that was on the minds of the biblical authors too. And I think that we have got a lot to learn from them. But we've also got a theme verse with this lesson series too, which is Micah 6:8. And in relation to that specific verse at least, last week we talked about the context of Micah 6, and we explored that by way of introduction. But today we're going to dive a little bit deeper into Micah 6:8 itself. Specifically, we are going to look at how the word justice relates to loving mercy. What does it mean to love mercy? Those are two words that are kind of hard to wrap our minds around, right? Love and mercy. and how does loving mercy, or loving kindness, as other Bible translations put it, relate to the topic of justice anyways? Well, when things are in the abstract, I always think that it's good to see an example of them happening within a story. And there is a good example of biblical justice and loving mercy in the book of 2 Samuel, specifically 2 Samuel chapter 21. But before I read it to you, I want to introduce you to a couple of the key characters. One of the main characters is a guy named King David. And you've probably heard about him. He was the most popular king in Israel, and he was the guy who defeated that giant Goliath, and he also wrote a lot of the songs within the book of Psalms in our Bible. But there's also a group of people in the story called the Gibeonites. And these folks, they weren't Israelites. That is, they weren't God's chosen nation in the Old Testament, but they were friendly with the nation of Israel. And then there's another group, King Saul's sons. And Saul was the king before David, and he's dead now at this point of the Old Testament, but his sons are still alive, and they make an appearance in this story here. And the last character that you're going to need to know about is a lady named Rizpah, who was the mother to some of King Saul's sons. And as I begin to read the story, I want you guys to think especially of loving mercy, as well as that Instagram story that I told a bit earlier. And I want you to specifically think about how justice played out there and how justice plays out here, because there is some similarities. But this is 2 Samuel 21, verses 1 through 6. It says, "During the reign of David, there was a famine for 3 successive years. So David sought the face of the Lord, and the Lord said, 'It is on account of Saul and his bloodstained house. It is because he put the Gibeonites to death.' So the king summoned the Gibeonites, and he spoke to them. Now the Gibeonites were not a part of Israel, but were survivors of the Amorites. The Israelites had sworn to spare them, but Saul in his zeal for Israel and Judah had tried to annihilate them. And David asked the Gibeonites, 'What shall I do for you? How shall I make atonement so that you will bless the Lord's inheritance?' And the Gibeonites answered him, 'We have no right to demand silver or gold from Saul or his family, nor do we have the right to put anyone in Israel to death.' 'What do you want me to do for you?' David asked. And they answered the king, 'As for the man who destroyed us and plotted against us so that we have been decimated and have no place anywhere in Israel, let 7 of his male descendants be given to us to be killed and their bodies exposed before the Lord at Gibeah of Saul, the Lord's chosen one.' So the king said, 'I will give them to you.'" So let me summarize this real quick. King Saul, the king before David, had treated the people of Gibeah rather harshly, even though they were friends of Israel. And David, the new king, wanted to make things right. He wanted justice for his predecessors' wrongdoings. The proposed solution? Kill 7 of Saul's sons. And not only kill them, but hang them in town so that everybody can see. Pretty brutal. And David, wanting justice, but really also wanting to appease the Gibeonites and look like a good and competent king by quickly getting rid of this famine curse problem, David agrees to this. 2 Samuel 21, 9 through 10. He, David, handed them over to the Gibeonites, who killed them and exposed their bodies on a hill before the Lord. All 7 of them fell together. They were put to death during the first days of harvest, just as the barley harvest was beginning. Then Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, took sackcloth and she spread it out for herself on a rock. And from the beginning of harvest till the rain poured down from the heavens on the bodies, she did not let the birds touch them by day or the wild animals by night. So then enters Rizpah. And she understands biblical justice. She loves mercy. She loves her sons. And she also knows that accountability needs to happen for such an atrocity. So what Rizpah does is she goes out and she camps for 5 whole months. That's what that beginning to the end of harvest season was all about. She camps for 5 whole months underneath the swinging bodies of her dead children. And she lets them hang there, and she never leaves their side. And in fact, she does not let any of the wild animals touch them to speed up their decay. She does this to heartbreakingly expose the wickedness and the thoughtlessness of King David's actions. I mean, can you imagine your mother having to do something like that, right? Can you imagine the agony Rizpah must have gone through to make this type of statement? Can you imagine how hard it must have been to not return harsh retaliation for harsh retaliation, harsh punishment for harsh punishment? Rizpah, for some reason, did not want King David's sons killed. She just wanted wrongs to be made right, and she wanted the sin to be noticed. And eventually, David, he does notice. This is what 2 Samuel 21, 11 through 14 says. When David was told what Rizpah, Saul's concubine, had done, he went and he took the bones of Saul and his son Jonathan from the citizens of Jabesh Gilead. And then David brought the bones of Saul and his son Jonathan from there, and the bones of those who had been killed and exposed were also gathered up. They buried the bones of Saul and his son Jonathan in the tomb of Saul's father Kish at Zelah in Benjamin, and did everything the king commanded. After that, God answered prayer in behalf of the land. So David, he finally realizes the error of his ways. He realizes that he was focused on the blood guilt of Saul and the famine in the land, so much so that he forgot about human dignity and that all are made in the image of God, all people, Saul's sons included. Rizpah's statement reminded David of the humanity of Saul's sons, and it made him realize that he had demonized those he, or at least an ally, deemed as enemy. And to make it right, King David himself, he went up to where the 7 sons of Saul were hanging, and he took their bones, and he eventually gave them a proper royal burial. And as it says there, it was only after that God began to answer the prayers in the land and removed this famine curse. So how does loving mercy connect with biblical justice? Well, it's that which reminds us not to think of others as less than human, but instead as image bearers of God. It's that which reminds us not to demonize or to intentionally think little of another, even when the instructions to do so come in Christian-like wrapping paper. It's loving someone and offering them mercy even when they have not done so for you. And how might we be doing this, or maybe not doing this today? I think that Instagram story is a good example. My friend made little of the class bully when he made that account. He did so when he really shouldn't have. And even though this bully, even though he was acting highly inappropriately, the Christian response would be to call out this injustice in a humane way, a way that does not demoralize the other. But we also kind of do this types of stuff in our everyday lives too. And like King David, sometimes we do this even without thinking. External pressures or our inherited cultural biases can sometimes make us think little of others without even realizing that we're doing it in the first place. But wherever our biases lie, or whether they're based on things like political affiliation or skin tone or country of origin or church denomination, or really based on actual injustice, we need to remember that as Christians, we're to first think of others as God's creation and ones for whom Jesus died. Because here's the deal. When you were still an enemy of God, when you were still living in sin, Jesus did not first think of punishment for you. Jesus loved mercy. And Jesus willingly went to punishment himself by dying on the cross for your sin so that you might have eternal life with him. He didn't have to do so, but out of his grace and out of his love for mercy, he chose to do so anyways. So, as Christians, we need to do the same for others. And especially when it comes to matters of justice, let us all make sure that we love mercy. Hey, it's Colby again. It was really great seeing a few of you this past week and weekend. I know I was able to see a small number of you at Word of Life's Sunday morning worship services, and then a little bit bigger number of you at our junior high guys disc golf event on this past Tuesday. But I just can't express how excited I was for those things and how happy I was to see a lot of you and to hear your voices, not through a computer screen, but in person. That was really great. And if what I just said surprised you, Let me fill you in a little bit of what we've been doing here at Access now that summer has officially started. We have begun to meet, small groups specifically meet, and do outdoor type of things so we can maintain social distancing and things like that. And we have begun to do that right now. And so if you would like to join us and you've kind of lost connection with your small group this past couple of months, reach out to either myself or your small group leader, and we would love to have you join us. But also, Word of Life Church, that which Access is a part of, has started to meet in person too. We have an 8:30 a.m. service and a 10:45 a.m. service, at least for now. And so if you'd like to join in with that, you can look up our Facebook or our website, and there's more details there on that. But before we bring this video to a close, let me just once again remind you all of our theme verse for this month, Micah 6:8. It is super short, it's super easy to memorize, and so that is your challenge. Memorize Micah 6:8, and your small group leader, or maybe even myself, might have a small prize for you if you do so. But I hope to see you all either face to face or at least through this video type of thing very soon. Bye.